How you doing? I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. I'm sat outside in the bar today. Cheers to your health. Today's topic is going to be about expectations. So we're going to look at this from three different perspectives. The first perspective is your past expectations, right? What did you expect? Then we're going to look at your present expectations. What can you expect? And finally, we're going to look at your future expectations. What do you expect, right? And, it's important to look at these three things, these three areas of your life. At the end of this, I'm going to sort of look at how you can really view yourself from now and how to look at things going forwards. So the first one is basically, it's something like your mum or your dad would say to you, well, what did you expect, What did you expect? You've done this and you've come out with this outcome, cause and effect, right? This is what you've done for whatever, For me, it was 30 years drinking alcohol. So what did I expect? I've been drinking alcohol for 30 years. I've been putting this toxin into my body, right? A lot of the time, knowingly doing this, comprehending sort of some of the things that were going on, but pushing it backwards and not really thinking about it, pretending that these things didn't exist. And eventually suffering the consequences of that. And it's in leading ourselves into the future with an astonishing level of logical blindness, right? We sort of can piece together enough evidence to show us that what we're doing to ourselves is wrong, right? That, we look at things like getting drunk, for instance, and how your body reacts to that. So, when you get drunk and your speech starts to slur, you are staggering all over the place, you can't think anymore, you can't remember what happened the day before. This is, these are all telltale signs that something not right is going on in your head, Not right is going on in your body, something fucking severe has happened. But we ignore all that and we put it aside, we turn a blind eye to it, and we carry on as if nothing is happening and there's going to be no consequences to this, right? We see the consequence the next day, the hangover, and we think, yeah, that's it. But it's the accumulation of this, day after day, week after week, month after month, and year after year. It's the accumulation of this that builds up and causes problems. And it's only, there's a lot of things that happen inside of our bodies that there are no physical outward symptoms, One of those things is liver disease. The first sign that you've got liver disease is generally that something starts to go wrong in other areas of your body. You start to get the jaundice, or you start to get a pain in your side, and that is a sign that you've already got the liver disease, right? That the liver disease is happening. It's a part of what is happening inside your body, right? Not too late to do something about it in a lot of cases, but in some cases it's far too late. Now, it's this kind of thinking, what did you expect, that you have to keep in your mind when you're going forward. Now, the second one I want to talk about is what can you expect? Now, this is where you are now, right? You're in a certain position now. You're facing towards your future. Now, let me just talk about that for a second, right? Facing into your future. When you come here and you're in this moment now, you've come here down a single path, right? This is where you were, and no matter what choices you did have in the past, right, that those choices have led you to down one single path. This is, how however much the path may wave and go all over the place, up and down, whatever, it is a single path. But as you stand here now, looking out into your future, you're faced with a multitude of different paths that you can take, right? And this is all down to choice. This is all what you can expect, right? Dependent on what choice you make right now. That's where the moment, that's where the expectation comes in the moment. Expectation in the future is, what do you expect? Now that's after you've made a choice, right? So you make a choice now. What do you expect once you make that choice? Now, if you're in the present and you say to yourself, well, I haven't made up a choice, I haven't made up my mind yet what I'm going to do, which path I'm going to take, then you can't expect anything in the future, right? Because You know, you've got so many choices that you can make, so many possibilities. You can only expect or nail down your expectations about your future once you nail down what you're going to do now, once you decide. I mean, that word decide in itself means to cut off all other choices. You know, a choice is something that you've got. You can make this choice, you can make that choice, you can make that choice. A decision is where you make a choice, right? You make one single choice and you decide. It's like an incision, same thing, right? You cut off. So there's no other way going forwards. Once you make that decision, then you can move forwards and your expectations become more concrete, right? As I say, more concrete, right? Your expectations can go in different ways depending on a variety of different factors moving forward, right? Some that are in your control and a lot of them are outside of your control. And it's these things that I want to talk about now. You know, you've heard me talking a lot of times about expectations being entirely linked around focus. So where you focus your mind, where you focus your concentration, where you focus your money, where you focus your time, this is where you're going to go. You know, you can't go any other way than on where you focus. It's like the same thing as when you're looking around. Your focus is only a very small, narrow piece of your vision. You know, when you see things, you see clarity in only a very small part. The rest of it is all peripheral vision. It's like with a camera, if you can get different lenses, different focal lengths and all that kind of stuff, you know. But, you know, when you're looking at focus into the future, your focus, you can only really focus on one area at a time, you know. Our brains are made that way. Our lives are structured that way, you know. It's just the way it is. So if you focus on the negative, then guess what you're going to get? The very least you're going to do is exacerbate the negative in your life. Now, you've heard me again talking about positivity and bringing yourself as much positivity towards this quitting drinking as you possibly can. And I'm not talking about it from the perspective of looking at things through rose-tinted glasses, looking at things unrealistically. I'm looking at things within reason and saying, well, these things are in my control and these things I can put as much of a positive slant on as possible. There's many things which are going to be outside of my control, many things that I can't do anything about, many things that, you know, no matter how much I look at it positively, it's not going to change it. You know, like you're not going to change the weather, for instance, by thinking positively about it. You know, you're not going to climb a mountain and all of a sudden think, well, you know, I'm going to think positively about this and make the mountain shorter, right? You just can't do that, you know. You're not going to make yourself be a taller person or a better looking person or a slimmer person just by thinking positively about it, right? You can do something about certain parts of your life by thinking positive, but only in the sense that you influence the direction that you're going. So if you're overweight, you can influence the direction that you're going by thinking positive thoughts, by thinking that, yeah, I can do this, instead of thinking I can't do this. Because if you think I can't do this, you're generally not going to do it. You know, you're going to remain an overweight person for the rest of your life. You know, not only will you remain an overweight person, but you'll probably gather and put on more weight than you would have otherwise done. So I'm saying expectations, your expectations of the future are all going to be surrounded by how you view things. You know, it doesn't really matter what happens outside in your life, because most of the things that happen outside of you are outside of your control. It's the way you think about them. That's where all your power is. You know, whether you get cravings or not, right? Your power is in the way you handle those things first up in your head, your perception. Then how you take those perceptions out into your actions. Same thing if you can't sleep. Same thing, right? It's the same thing. It depends how you look at these things. If you can't sleep, you can't force yourself to sleep, right? But you can change your perception about how you look at it, and which will change, you know, how these things outcome at the end of the day, right? There's so many areas of this that I could talk about, but I want to talk about expectations from the sense of before and after. So before you quit drinking, you know, once you've made that 100% commitment to make, or before you've made that 100% commitment to quitting drinking alcohol, you need to put as much negativity towards the alcohol as possible, right? And towards, not the alcohol, because the alcohol can't do anything, but the alcohol behavior, your role in all this, right? You're putting the alcohol into your mouth. That's number one, right? In order to get to that 100% commitment, you've got to face up to anything which will get you across that line, right? Which will give you that determination, persistence, perseverance, that you're never going to go back, right? And whatever that is, you know, whether it's focusing your mind on the pain that you're in now, right? The pain that you've caused other people, the pain that you are going to cause other people or to yourself in the future if you don't stop this now, right? You know, we've only got a finite amount of time, right? And today is basically going to be the same as tomorrow, right? The sun's going to rise, the sun's going to go down, and the next day, and the next day, you know. In 100 years' time, the sun is still going to rise and the sun is still going to go down, but you've got nothing to do then. You can't change anything then, you know. The only time you can change anything is right now, right? So as the sun rises up tomorrow morning, you've got the choice, you know, to drink or not to drink. It's all down to that one fundamental thing. Your first choice is not to drink. Don't put the alcohol in, right? Whatever gets you to that stage where you are fucking determined never to put the alcohol back into your body again, right? Whatever gets you to that stage is fair game, right? It's fair game. Anything that gets you to that stage of thinking, this is it, you know, enough is enough. I'm never going to do this again. And to feel that and to make that decision, you know, to cut the other choices off, to make that one decision to move forwards, that's all fair game. Now, once you've made that commitment and you've stepped across that line, then it's imperative that you look at things, you know, you view your expectations through as much of a positive framework as possible, right? So you view everything going forwards as your life changing, you know. What can you expect from yourself physically, right? What can you expect from yourself mentally? How can you expect your relationships to change for the better? How can you expect your finances to change for the better? Your spirituality to change for the better? All those kind of things, you know, your happiness levels, your feelings of comfort, your feelings of satisfaction, you know, all these things, you've got to focus your minds on trying to make those positive expectations as possible. Now, think about future expectations like getting into a taxi, right? You get into a taxi, you sit into the taxi and you tell the taxi driver wherever it is you want to go, right? Now, whether that's the shittiest part of the town, right, where you know you're going to get into deep trouble, or it's the nicest part of town where you know there's gold hanging off the trees, right? You can go to either of these destinations. You can go to any destination. All you have to do is tell the taxi driver where you want to go, right? And he'll take you there, right? Now, once you're in the taxi and you're driving to the destination, you can think about it, you know, and you can think, well, yeah, look around and think, I don't really like where I'm going. And you can say, I want to change direction. Just say it to the taxi driver and he'll change direction for you. That's what expectations are. That's how you can use your expectations. It's up to you to choose where you want to go. And once you've made that decision, you're on your way, you know, and those expectations are going to take you step by step, inexorably towards that destination, right? As I say, you can change the destination, but it's up to you. It's up to you to make the decision, to look around and decide whether this is the right thing for you, whether this area that you're heading towards is going to be the right thing for you. And, you know, like, I'm not talking about now quitting drinking. I'm talking about in any choice that you make subsequent to that choice of quitting drinking, right? That's where, you know, your power lies. You know, that's where the power to never go back to drinking alcohol again, because you are building piece by piece, right? You're constructing this building bit by bit, upwards and upwards, in which it's so good, so fulfilling, so giving you so much of a feeling of happiness and contentment and joy and satisfaction and whatever else you want to get out of life. All can be encompassed in one thing, which is meaning, right? You get yourself so much of a feeling of meaning. You know, your life gets such a feeling of meaning to it. Whatever you're doing has such a feeling of meaning to it that you never want to go back to where you started from. So there's one thing I want you to take from this, is to focus on your future expectations. I mean, once you decide what you're going to do now, you have to decide what can you expect in the future first, right? And then you're presented with a lot of choices. And once you make your choice and make that decision that you're going to take this particular route, then you go down that route. And it's whatever your expectations are, your expectation, it's that expectation that's going to take you down that journey, right? It's how you see things. Because if you can't see it up here first, it's never going to appear out here in real life, ever. So you have to first mold your expectations, mold your dreams about where you want to go and what you want to be and the person you want to be and what you want to see around you before you ever have a chance of even trying to put them into practice, right? So just remember that. I'm going to quit here. If you have any questions at all, leave them down below in the comments section or over on the website. If you want to sign up for our Alcohol Mastery Starter Pack, which is just a lot of different material about trying to help you to get started, to overcome a lot of the propaganda that we're talking about, to try and get you past that logical blindness that we tend to give ourselves. Come on over to the website, it's there on the first page, or you'll see a pop-up. It's an annoying pop-up for anyone who's coming back, and I apologize for that, but it only comes up once every, I think, 3 or 4 times that you come there. Just leave your name and email address and I'll send it straight out to you. Until next time, I'm Kevin O'Hara for alcoholmastery.com. Take care of yourself, keep the alcohol out of your mouth, onwards and upwards. Take care. Adios and cheers. Good luck.